Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold. We are live on YouTube, and I say we because it is me and whoever else is out there live on YouTube on the Canes Corner podcast YouTube page. You can also get to us if you follow 999 The Fan on Twitter or if you're on the Fans Facebook page. I'm Adam Gold. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. If you want to ask some questions, you can certainly punch those up and we will answer those to you. Could also, if you want, hit me on at agoldfan, my Twitter, and we will go through some questions as well right there. I've said for I don't know how long ago this is. I said a while back that Carolina needed a game, not where they score a bunch of goals. They needed a game where they played like crap and their goalie stole a game. Because Carolina has been on the other side of that this year. They needed one of those tonight. That was one of those. I often am at odds with the analytics sites and how they view a hockey game. But my eyes told me that the Toronto Maple Leafs were way better than the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. I said it all game long. The head coach after the game said it. We lose the game if it's not for our goalie. The analytics had it right tonight. Natural stat trick, expected goals. Toronto, 6.3. You never see that number. 6.3. Hurricanes, 2.23. Final score, 5-3 Carolina. Kick out the empty net goal. The fact that Carolina scored 4, kind of remarkable. The fact that they only gave up 3, miraculous. Pyotr Kochetkov was amazing tonight. So this is what Carolina did. They stole a game while playing like crap. It's about time. I know Rod said it was the first time that happened all year. I don't think so. But it's been so long since it's happened. Carolina has won a bunch of games with essentially league average or lately below league average goaltending. Like, we can't be foolish to think that Carolina's goaltending has been good enough. Now, I know there are some out there that thought Carolina needed to add a goaltender at the deadline. Because I interact with these people. For good or bad, and sometimes our relationship is somewhat contentious. For good or bad, I am available and will respond to you on Twitter at agoldfan. And sometimes our interactions are not pleasant. I'll be honest. And sometimes I'm wrong about that. Sometimes I get a little testy. But all year long, I have thought that Carolina's goaltending wasn't good enough. But I also knew that they were not going to add a goaltender at the deadline. Goaltenders at the deadline generally don't help. Didn't Minnesota try to add, or I guess they effectively did add Marc-Andre Fleury, and he wasn't great last year. I mean, I don't know that he's been great this year. And they had a pretty good goaltender in Cam Talbot. They just had the opportunity to add Marc-Andre Fleury. So there really aren't many goaltenders that make you better. So Carolina didn't add a goaltender. At the beginning of the season, though, I said I was not sure Carolina's goaltending was good enough. And I'm still not sure it's good enough, to be honest, to win a Stanley Cup. But what we saw tonight, for me, is how Carolina can win a Stanley Cup. The high end of Pyotr Kochetkov is higher than the best that Freddie Anderson's going to give you. it's higher than what Antti Ranta is going to give you. This Kochetkov tonight is how Carolina can win a Stanley Cup. They're not going to get dominated like this, okay? This was, I'm not saying an outlier game, although it's pretty much an outlier game. But this is the way Carolina's goaltending needs to be to win a cup. We understand. We all get the goal scoring issues. And I said before the game, when Carolina allows 3 goals or more, they were, I believe the number was 13, 15, and 7. They are now 14, 15, and 7 when they allow 3 goals or more in a game. They're 33, 1, and 1 when they allow 2 or less. So tonight, coupled with Carolina's normal game, is the way Carolina wins a cup. Because I think they're going to have to win a lot of games, 3-2 and 2-1, when they get into the postseason. That's just the way Carolina's built right now. They didn't make the additions at the deadline to replace Max Pacioretty and to a much lesser extent, Andre Kasha. Remember, they brought in Pacioretty and Kasha to add to scoring. Shoulder shrug emoji. Didn't replace them, then they lost Svechnikov. So the goals are going to come from Necas. The goals are going to come from Aho. Got one tonight, number 32. The goals are going to come from Teravainen, empty netter, but they have to get goals from him and Seth Jarvis. Teuvo Teravainen and Seth Jarvis, I'll make this prediction now. I don't care what happens between now and the end of the season. I think when the postseason rolls around, those guys will score enough goals. But will Carolina score enough goals as a team? Because remember, primarily the goals are going to come from, well, I was going to say 4 guys in terms of the forward group, but I'll say 5. The goals are going to come from Aho and Necas and Teravainen and Jarvis. That's where you expect the goals from. But I'll throw Stefan Nason in there because Nason's goal tonight is how he scores goals. Work around the net. It's been tremendous. He hadn't scored in, what was it, 13? He had gone 13 in a row without a goal. Same with Brent Burns. Burns hadn't scored in a while, but nobody's complaining about Brent Burns' play because he assists on so many goals. He's had a phenomenal year. And I thought Burns was great defensively tonight. So this was a very, very important 2 points to get for a lot of reasons. Talked about the way Kochetkov played, but it's also an important 2 points because the Devils won and the Rangers won. And think about how Carolina played with the expected goals being a 6-2 loss as opposed to getting a 5-3 win. If Carolina doesn't get the goaltending performance from Kochetkov that they got tonight, and I had a good feeling about him going into the night tonight. I was talking with Tripp about it before the game. If the Hurricanes lose the game, the Devils win. Now they're tied, 100 points apiece. And the Rangers would only be 4 points back. You know, Carolina with Boston and Tampa in the next, tomorrow and then Tuesday, you could suddenly find yourself very easily tied with the Rangers and falling behind the Rangers. And you go from first in the division to third, and that could still happen, easily happen. But if you don't get these 2 points tonight, just everything looks so much more grim. Hurricanes obviously better at home, although they've been great on the road. And look, they didn't win a road game in the playoffs last year. I mean, I'm sorry. It's a statistical anomaly. I'm not buying that the Hurricanes can't win playoff games on the road. That's silly. They didn't last year, but I'm not buying that they can't. Their road record this year, pardon me while I look at it, Carolina's road record this year, 22-7-6. Stuff it if you think they can't win on the road. I mean, come on. Let's not be prisoners of the moment. So, but they had to win this game to stay ahead of New Jersey and to give, 6-point cushion on the Rangers is pretty good. So they're done with New Jersey. They're done with the Rangers. They're now done with Toronto. There's no psychological need for winning this game. if you play Toronto that in the playoffs, that means you're in the conference finals. I think everybody would take it. The Boston, they're going to finish the season series with the Bruins tomorrow here at PNC Arena. Carolina will be dressed as the Whalers. Carolina's 1-0-1 against the Bruins this year. The last time we played them here, dominated the game. Absolutely dominated the game. So, and Carolina, again, they weren't very good tonight. But a couple of things I want to get to, and then we'll answer some questions that are already here in the chat. And as I will remind you, because I'm kind of new at this whole thing, and you understand, I'm basically a dope. There's probably a like button and a follow button, and I'm told you're supposed to say smash it. Like I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't hurt your machine or anything. Whatever you're watching on your phone or your laptop or your desktop, I don't know. iPad, Surface. Can you do that? But do that. Let's build a following here on the Canes Corner Live YouTube page, because this is the plan the rest of the way. We'll do this more than we just do traditional podcast. If you get the podcast normally, it'll still be there. We'll just take this and we'll put it there. But this is the way we're going to do these the rest of the way, because why not? I don't know. All right. A couple of things, and then we'll answer some questions. But Jordan Martinook was awesome tonight. And he got an assist on the Jordan Staal goal. But he makes the play before the assist. It's a Jesper Fast aerial flip. It's like Jordan Martinook was running a go route. He's a wide receiver. And he just basically catches the puck. And he shoots it wide, but he got a shot off. And then Carolina's forecheck did the work. And Jesper Fast was part of that. But I thought Martinook was great there. But on the Aho goal that made it 4-3, it was Martinook's hard work on the boards right just inside the blue line that kept the play alive. And then Carolina scores. Aho gets the rebound shot from the rebound of the Jacob Slavin shot for the goal. So that Jordan played a really good game tonight. And if I'm Rod Brindamore, and I'm not, but I talked to Rod about this a lot, I think you're going to see Martinook stay with Aho and Natchez. At some point, you're just going to have to spread this out. I think you'll see Martinook stay with Aho and Natchez, certainly tomorrow against Boston. And then maybe in the last 2 weeks, they'll try to create an Aho, Teravainen, Natchez line. I think Rod doesn't really want to load up, on top of the fact that I think he would like a little bit of a physical presence on that line. That's why I wouldn't completely rule out Jesse Puljujärvi back there, although I just don't think he does enough. He's a big body, but I don't think he's got tremendous hands or puck skills and whatnot. I think he throws his body around, and that's good, but to me, that he should be on a fourth line. Anyway, Martinook played really well. I thought it was the best game Shane Gostisbehere's played with the Hurricanes, and that also kind of contains the fact that he scored a couple of goals right away for the Hurricanes, but defensively he was awesome tonight. He did have the one really, really bad turnover that nearly led to a goal, but Kochetkov was great tonight. But other than that, I thought Gostisbehere and Chatfield as a tandem were outstanding. I thought Burns and Slavin as a tandem were outstanding tonight, and might have been one of Brent Burns' best defensive games with the Hurricanes. I had him as one of my stars before I remembered that he scored the first goal. And I had Gostisbehere as the second star of the game, and that was before I remembered that he assisted on the first goal. And so I think there's a lot to take away from the game with those two defensive pairs that is really positive. If Carolina gets defensive play from Gostisbehere and Chatfield as a pair like they did tonight, Carolina's blue line could carry them because they were outstanding. I didn't think it was a great game for Pesce and Shea. I don't think it was a bad game from them. I thought Carolina's real problem was in managing the puck. there were some issues with getting the puck out of zones tonight. But for the most part, I think Carolina's problems were up front. It was not the blue line. It was not defensively on the blue line. I think their problems were primarily up front, a lot of puck management issues. The first goal, the Yarncroke goal, Puljujarvi's coming in on the right wing on a 3-on-2, but he makes a high-risk play through traffic, through a stick, to get the puck into the middle, whereas skate the puck in a little deeper, right? Don't try to make the pass right at the blue line. Skate the puck in a little deeper, or just lower your shoulder and take it to the net and let them go crash it. You're a fourth line for a reason. You're not going to make pretty plays. So it needed a not pretty play. You have a 2-0 lead. You don't need the next goal. You don't want to give it up, and you don't want to give it up based on a turnover at the blue line. But that's what happened. And then Calle Jarnkrok ultimately scores the goal to make it 2-1. The other goal, Necas has the puck, and Carolina has already, not that long before, Sebastian Aho missed, just didn't even shoot it when he was right in front of Matt Murray. He was always looking to pass, which sometimes Sebastian Aho does. And so they don't get a shot with Aho with the puck in front of Murray. And then Necas tries to stick handle in a tight spot right along the wall by the blue line. He loses the puck. It goes the other way. Austin Matthews scores. So those were two mistakes that Carolina's forward group made. But they had puck management problems, I thought, from the middle of the first period on. Penalty kill was very good tonight. Rod made it seem like it was all Pyotr Kochetkov. It was a lot of Pyotr Kochetkov. Sometimes that's what happens on the penalty kill, is that your goaltender kills the penalty. But I thought there weren't a ton of in-tight chances on the power play. There were some, but I thought that a lot of what the Leafs did on the power play was not from the edges, not from the blue line, but there weren't some cross-ice, passes where somebody was on the back door. I thought Carolina's penalty kill was pretty good. Kochetkov, obviously, was the best part of it. So there was a lot of good to this, but Carolina was the second best team and picked up a win. So, oh my gosh, there's a lot of questions here. So, yes, Jackson points out, how about Kucha tonight? I would say impenetrable, almost chastity belt-like, but the truth is that he did give up 3. Ain't on him. Not on him. I thought he was awesome tonight. It's about time. Kieran asked me, will Max Pacioretty be back next season? Company line is they're going to try and re-sign him. I say no. I don't think he is going to be back next season. So I said this before. I said this last year in the summer, and people thought, I don't know if they thought I was crazy or not. I don't think they believed me. But I said that Carolina's improvement in goal scoring was going to come from within. It had to. You're not going to bring somebody in who's going to change it. Pacioretty would have been a good add. But already, again, the Svechnikov injury matters, but already Necas is better, significantly so this year, than he was last year. So I don't really think they needed necessarily to add Pacioretty, but the point is they did, and Kasha. And then when Pacioretty got hurt, they added Stasny. So they obviously need some goal scoring. So I will say it again. The improvement next year in goal scoring is going to have to come from within. And it comes from 3 spots, in my opinion. It comes from Svechnikov not having a stretch where he goes, 16 games without a goal? It comes from Jarvis and Teravainen both having better years. And it comes from Necas being consistently like he is this year. That's what Martin Necas has to be. And Sebastian Aho is Sebastian Aho. And then, you'll have Stefan Nason next year. That's cool. And maybe Nason will play, and they're going to look a lot different next year, I think, in terms of how their forward group is structured. My guess is the Jordan Stahl experience will continue. My guess is that they'll sign him to, I think they'll either do a series of 1 year deals, or I could see them doing, a 2 year deal. It'll be a lower number. And I think Jordan Stahl becomes really a fourth line player, which is why when somebody asked on Twitter earlier tonight, will Aho be the captain of this team before Jordan Stahl retires? And I'll just say the answer to that is maybe, simply because, I mean, Aho's going to be the next captain. I think Aho will sign long term. And if I were Tom Dundon, I would not wait till after next season. I would do it this summer. He's got 1 year left on his contract after this year. Same with Teravainen, same with Pesci, same with Shea, same with Jarvis. But I will also say, so does Chatfield, so does Nason. But I believe that you get Sebastian Aho done this summer, whatever the number, whatever the length has to be. Does it have to be 8 years? I don't know if it has to be 8 years or not. I know the team doesn't want to give an 8 year contract to somebody who I think is going to be 25 next year. So remember, the contract wouldn't kick into the following year. And he actually might even be 26. Now you're talking about the contract ending when he's 35. I ain't worried about Sebastian Aho. I think the Hurricanes have to give it. I think you got to take care of your guy. And because the other thing is, I think it says a lot about the organization that this is your guy. We're going to take care of him. And I don't think it'll be a huge raise from what he makes now. He's under 8.5. I don't think the number is more than 9.5. Salary cap's going to go up. So that's what I think they'll do. Now, they're going to have to figure out lower cost options. Yeah, every team has to. Every team has to. The cap's going to go up. Is it going to get to 90 at some point? Probably. The cap's going to go up. So Carolina have a little bit more room. The Jordan Stahl number will come down. There will be other numbers that come down. And we'll see. But I also think that Carolina is going to have to find a number 2 center if it's not Martin Necas. And I think Rod wants to keep Necas on the wing. And I think Marty has been really effective there as well. And again, this is coming up a lot on the in the chat here. And I thank you, Kieran, for smashing the whatever button needs to be smashed. Does it say smash on is it a smash button? I don't know. Does it say easy? Is it an easy button? I don't know what it is. I'll get back to their starting goaltender next year, who I think we saw tonight, makes $2 million. Your backup next year will probably make about the same. So Carolina will save probably $2.5 million in goaltending. And Kochetkov is at this number for 4 years. 4 more years, Kochetkov is at that number. That's not bad. And it all depends on what you think of him or what they think of him. Do they think of him as a 55 start a year guy or a tandem goalie? When he's right, you ride him. He was right November and most of December. He was right. He was one of the best goalies in the league. Since then, the injury, I guess it was an injury. He got banged up against the Devils and then stopped playing for a while. Antti Ranta played. Kochetkov, he hasn't been the same since. I said this before the game. In his previous 7 starts, 1-5-1. The win, was the 19-save shutout against the Flyers. Carolina scored the first goal in the power play, 2:09 in. That was a Svechnikov goal, and they won the game 1-0. He wasn't great because the Flyers weren't great. Carolina just basically did what they had to do and won a game 1-0. But Kochetkov had allowed at least 3 goals in the other 6 starts. He allowed 3 goals tonight, but he was spectacular tonight in doing that. Smokey said Puljujarvi is getting better every shift. No. I mean, He's not getting worse. To me, he's a fourth line player that Carolina didn't really need, but okay, whatever. He had some good moments tonight. He's had some good moments with this team, but I mean, he should have good moments. He's not a complete waste. He just isn't a fourth pick in the draft type of player. So, Josh asked, did Rod switch the lines going into the third period? And will that be something he will continue before locking them in for the playoffs? Yes, he did. He flipped Martinook and Teravainen and put Martinook with Aho and Natchez. And I think Rod's going to continue trying to figure out what his best combinations are. I think that the lines are going to be fluid, and they should be. Right now, I mean, Rod's just trying to find combinations that work. I could see Nason playing with Aho and Natchez again, because he did for a while, right? So I could see that. But without Svechnikov in the lineup, there's no natural winger for Rod with Aho and Natchez. I mean, he gave Teravainen a shot. That line was completely owned by whichever combination was going against them tonight, be it the Matthews line or the Tavares line. Both of those lines dominated the Aho line tonight. The Aho line wasn't good. They were better in the third when Martinook went there. And Martinook has been the kind of a guy who's been, I think, the fixer, as I referred to him with Rod. I don't know if he got the reference. Martinook's been Carolina's Winston Wolf this year. I know how a lot of you don't like Martinook playing in a top line, but sometimes you need somebody that just throws his body around and creates energy. And that's what Jordan Martinook has done. I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And again, knock on wood here. I asked him, when you wake up in the morning, how many things hurt? And he went, 2. I said, and then he quickly followed that up with, but they're not big deals. I said, what is it normally at this time? And he said, about 7. Jordan Martinook being healthy so far this season has been everything to this team. One of the unsung reasons why Carolina is as good as they are, because Jordan Martinook has stayed healthy all season long. If Carolina finishes first, this is a question about matchups. Boston's going to play wild card 2. Right now, wild card 2 is Pittsburgh. Ultimately, I think Pittsburgh is going to end up being wild card 1, and Boston will play the Islanders. No offense to Pittsburgh, and honestly, anybody you play can beat you, no matter what the matchup is in the Eastern Conference. Anybody is capable of winning a series. The Islanders will bring to the playoffs the best goalie. I know Linus Ullmark has had the best year, but I will take Ilya Sorokin 100 times in a row over Linus Ullmark. So if you could avoid the Islanders and avoid Ilya Sorokin, I'd do that. But I would also hesitate to not try to pick a matchup. And frankly, I'm not sure I want to play a team that has Sidney Crosby, Yevgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, Jake Gensel, Ricard Raquel. I mean, Pittsburgh's legit good, at least talented. They may not be as good defensively, and they may not be as good in net. But I think the Penguins, I wouldn't want to mess with them. But, Florida, I think Florida ultimately is going to miss out. But there's 3 teams really fighting for 2 spots. I think the 2 better teams are the Islanders and the Penguins. And I think Florida is just going to be on the outside when it's all said and done. So I think that's the way I think it's going to play out. All right. Let's see. Does Rod go with Piotr versus Boston tomorrow? No. It's going to be Freddie. This is the way I thought it was going to play out. Based on the way Freddie played in the Flyers game, which was okay. Not great, but not bad either. I thought he would give Freddie both Rangers games. Remember, they tried Piotr in those 3 games, the first and third game twice, or the first game in stretches twice. And Piotr didn't play really well in those games. And I think Rod was trying to get Kochetkov to the point where, all right, he's our guy. And Freddie played reasonably well against the Flyers. And then both Rangers games, it was Freddie, and I thought Freddie was good. As good as we have seen from Anderson in a while. In the 2-1 win up in New York, thought Freddie was great. He didn't have to make tons of really big saves, but he was just there. His positioning was great. He's exactly what the Hurricanes need out of their goaltender. As Rod has said, we don't need our goaltender to be the best player in the game. We just need him to make a big save when we need it. We need him to be solid. And that's what they got from Freddie in both games. I will say that for the game here Thursday night, the one I was not at, but I did watch I was in D.C. on a field trip. I thought Freddie got stuck on the first, I think it was the first Panarin goal. I thought he got stuck, and it took him too long to get across to be able to at least have a chance on the Panarin shot. And to me, this is the biggest difference between Kochetkov and either of Carolina's other goaltenders. Kochetkov's side-to-side movement, post-to-post recovery is so much better that I think it gives Carolina a better chance on those situations. Now, Kochetkov has his own issues. We get it. But I think Kochetkov gives them a better chance to go deep if they get into a position where the goaltender's got to win them games. And because I don't think they're going to get that from Freddie. But I think his general normal play, Anderson's, is probably better than Kochetkov. If the Hurricanes play their game and dominate the puck, then I believe that the Hurricanes will probably not necessarily need, stellar goaltending to go deep. But it's hard to do that in the playoffs. It's hard to have the puck. It's hard to do what Carolina did to Tampa, 2.5 weeks ago here, 3 weeks ago here, right? It's hard to do that. It's hard to do what they did to the Rangers in New York, where Carolina's defense dominated the game. Their puck possession dominated the game. It's hard to do that in the playoffs. It really is. You're going to need your goaltender to win some games for you, win the games. And I think they have a better chance of that with Kochetkov. But not the other Kochetkov, the Kochetkov we saw tonight. And that's what I think. Good win. Great win, and I'll end where I started. In my opinion, the Carolina Hurricanes needed a game in which they played like crap and their goaltender won it. That's what happened tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. First time they beat the Leafs this year. And Rod was right when he said Carolina was probably, I don't know if they were the better team in both of the other games. I think in the game they won or they lost 3-1, they were probably the better team. The first meeting of the year. I don't think they were. I think they were about even in the game they lost. They lose 5-2 up there. I think it was 5-2. I think Carolina, and this is now a week and a half ago, I think Carolina was probably maybe marginally better than Toronto in that game. But they gave the puck away. So they did that tonight. They were not the better team by any stretch of the imagination tonight. If you thought that, then you're just looking at the scoreboard for your results. Hey, by the way, that ain't the terrible thing to do because the scoreboard said Carolina won 5-3. With all of that said, we're going to try this again tomorrow. Appreciate you hanging out. Maybe I'll have a guest, maybe not. I think this was fun either way. You got a chance to see me with banners in the background. I think that's an NC State banner in the background, though. We need to get a Hurricanes banner in the background. Maybe I'll hang up a flag or something in the background. But until then, we're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. And you should check them out online. Sammy and his crew do a great job. Big time friend. All right, Mike. I'm going to have a shout out to my guy, Mike. I believe in Queens. Mike in Queens. Thanks for jumping on. And anyway, we'll see everybody tomorrow evening after the Canes and the Bruins. Right here. Smash the whatever button you need to smash, or notify yourself, or however this whole thing works. I'm still learning. I'm an old guy. We'll see everybody tomorrow with the Canes and the Bruins on the Canes Corner podcast. Good night.